Okay, so this was requested. It is the Hogwarts robe and tie applique, and in order to do this one, it winds up being 4 different appliques. So I'm going to use a beige background, and then the shirt is going to be a white applique. The robe is going to be a black applique, and the tie and the collar is going to be a burgundy, since this one is for Gryffindor. And since this one is 4 appliques, it's a little funky and weird, so I'm going to go ahead and make a video to help you out. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run the dye line for the placement of the shirt. Okay, so for this applique I used white thread because I'm going to be using white fabric, and I didn't want the applique position stitch to show through. So it's kind of hard for you to see, but I bet you if you squint and turn your head sideways, you can see it. All right, so I'm just going to float this piece of fabric right over that and run the applique tack down stitch. Back in a second. So my apologies again, I used white because I really don't want this applique line showing through. This is the zigzag tack down for the white, and all you're going to do is you're going to take your duck-billed applique scissors and you are going to carefully trim as close to the applique zigzag as you possibly can without clipping your stitches. All right, it should be relatively simple. They're straight lines. Also, I have made the zigzag 1.5 millimeters, and then the satin stitch that will cover this, here is going to be covered by the collar, but up here, the satin stitch that will cover that is going to be 3 millimeters. So if you've got a little bit of applique hang out, and I know some of you say, I can't trim that close on an applique. Because I did the zigzag smaller than I'm doing the satin stitch, you should be able to cover any of the little extra leavings that you didn't quite get with your scissors. All right, there we go. We have trimmed this applique. We're going to put it back into the machine and run color stop 3, and you'll notice I've got it set for black. That's telling you that the second applique position needs to be black fabric. Back in a minute. Okay folks, so we're back with our 4-part applique. I have run the dye line for the black, and now I'm going to take a piece of black fabric and I'm going to make sure that I am covering up my dye line all the way. And then I'm just going to pop that bad boy right back into the machine, and it's going to run the tack down stitch. And I'll come back and show you how to applique cut that and what the next step is. Okay, so we are doing the horizontal, and I went ahead and did this up in a vertical as well for those who want it, tie applique. I have done the black, so now you need your duckbill scissors, and you are going to carefully, let's see, yep, I'm staying in frame. You're going to carefully applique cut. Remember, cut the fabric, not the stitches. You're going to cut down into this V. You're going to come back up on this V. Okay, now we're going to cut down one side. We're going to applique cut across the bottom. And up the last side. There we go. There we go. And again, I've made your zigzag narrower than your satin, so if you've got a couple of little fabric boo-haws, you can either, if you're super anal, cut them off. Good for you. Or your satin stitch should cover most of that. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to pop it back in the machine, and we are going to run color stop 4, which is going to give you the placement line for the tie. Placement line for the tie. Back in a minute. Okay, so we have run the die line for the tie applique. I've got a piece of burgundy because we're doing the Gryffindor applique. Woo. And all we're going to do is we're going to float this right over the tie and run our tack down, then trim it. So I'll be back with the tack down and show you how to trim out in just a minute. So we're working on the horizontal tie applique. We've done the third applique, the tie. And what you're going to do is you're going to grab your duckbill scissors, and you are going to carefully trim as close to that tack down line as you possibly can without cutting the tack down line. If your scissors, your duckbills, are super sharp, then you're not going to have to do the scissor motion. You'll just get it started, and then you'll hear this nice rip sound as it cuts across the fabric with just a little bit of pressure, but that requires super, super sharp scissors. All right, there we go. We are now going to do our final piece of applique. Actually, no, we're not. I lie like a bad rug. We have to do some details before we put the actual collar of the robe on. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this in, and it's going to do the tie goldenrod, and then I think it's going to do, yep, it's going to do the emblem. And I believe it is probably also going to do the black outline on the tie. Oh, nope, it's going to do the white up here and then the black outline, and then we'll come back and we'll do the last 2 steps, or the last applique. So we'll be back after we do the gold, the white, and the black. Gold, white, and black. Okay, so we have done all the way down through step number 10. Okay, so what we did is we did the gold detail on the tie. We did the emblem down in the lower corner. We did the satin stitches around the top, the tie, and around the bottom. And we also did the placement line for the burgundy collar. This is the last applique and the last step. And all you're going to do, and I'm going to cut this down because this is way too huge of a piece of fabric, but all you do is you're going to float a piece of burgundy over the collar, and you'll run step number, oops, wrong stitch sheet, there we go. You'll run step number 11. That'll give you that zigzag tack down, and you'll go back and trim. So I'll be back with that in a minute. Okay, folks, we are up to the last step on the 4-part Hogwarts tie robe collar applique. We just ran step 11, which is the zigzag tack down for the collar. So now, like all appliques, we have to go in and trim. And again, folks, if you get your scissors at just that right angle and they're sharp enough, you can go ahead, you don't have to saw. You can just run the really sharp scissors at an angle right up against, oops, I left some interfacing behind, right up against that line, that sewed line. Again, the paddle scissors, the duckbills, this lays on the stitches. This lays on the stitches to keep you from accidentally trimming them out. And you're gonna go all the way up. We're gonna catch this side. Working at angles again. We're gonna come across here. Now we're gonna go down into the V. You want to make sure that you get all the way down there. Okay, and then we're going to come back up the V. Let's see if I think if I turn it like that, that's a better angle for the camera. Not a better angle for me, but apparently I'm of no consideration in this equation. Go back up. I'm going to turn it. There. And there. Now, the only thing left on this one is we're going to pop it back in the machine, and you'll notice that on this step I went ahead and trimmed all of my jump stitches. Okay, and we're going to run the very last step, number 12, which is going to be the satin outline of the collar. And I'll be back with the finished product in just a minute. Okay, we just finished color stop 12, the last color stop in the pattern for our Hogwarts tie applique for the Gryffindor house. And voila, there she is, the whole thing, all ready to go. All I gotta do is pop it out of the hoop, and voila. Pretty awesome, huh? All right, have fun, go sew.